Good evening and welcome to Testimony Tuesdays. Welcome, Tay. How are you? We're going to get started shortly. Hope everyone's having a great week. Welcome to everyone who's coming in, and happy November, happy new month. Hope everyone is off to a good start. It's gone by so fast this year. It's crazy. I can't believe that November is pretty much the end of 2021. So I'm hoping all of you have been doing well and your families are doing well. And we'll get started pretty soon. Just waiting on our guest who just came in. Welcome, Jolie. I'll let you in soon for the live. I'll send you a request. So I hope everyone is staying warm wherever they are, because it is getting cold, at least where I'm at. It's getting pretty cold. So we have to bring out those jackets and those turtlenecks and everything. But I kind of like it. It kind of makes me more productive when it comes to doing work, because there's no beautiful weather outside to distract me. So I'll let Jolie in a few minutes. Let me just pull up her introduction. So I don't know if you guys heard, but apparently we're supposed to be buying our Thanksgiving turkeys like now, because they're predicting a shortage or something. So, I'm just passing the word along. Get your food or whatever prepared. I guess store it in your freezer and get ready. Stock up on food, because you don't want to be rushing at the last minute and not find what you're looking for. So, that's what I've been hearing on the news like every day. And they're like, shop for your Christmas stuff and all that. I'm like, what? It just turned November, but I guess better safe than sorry. All right, so I'm gonna get started. Welcome. Thank you for tuning into Testimony Tuesdays. I'm your host, DoctorBeauty. I started this talk show in September of 2020. And it's been a really awesome experience talking to all the guests who have appeared on the show. I have had quite a few people who were interviewed in the past return, and it's really nice to see how they have grown their businesses and grown in their personal and professional lives since the first time that we spoke. And so I'm excited to do that with Miss Jolian Stephens. So I'm going to read her introduction and let her into the room. Jolian Stephens is a scientific consultant whose experience has always been aligned to health research, more specifically chronic and sexually transmitted diseases. She obtained her graduate degree in health science with a public health concentration with cum laude honors. A month after accepting an offer to study epidemiology at George Washington University, she accepted a position in Texas working as a lead epidemiologist. Jolian has blossomed into a well-rounded, career-driven professional with a rigorous work ethic and a determination to help others through her professional brand, JolieThinks. JolieThinks is Jolian's personal brand. It encapsulates Jolian and what she stands for, a career woman motivated by success with the inclination to help others. JolieThinks is for overthinkers and analytical individuals passionate about creating healthy boundaries and superb mental health. So without further ado, I will bring in Jolie. Good evening, Jolie. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's so good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah, Jolie was just messaging me the other day, reminding me that she got a notification that it was our 1 year anniversary since she first came on the show. So I was like, you know what? I would not mind at all having you come back and updating us because I know you've been developing so many amazing and awesome things with your business. So welcome back to Testimony Tuesdays.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back. So much has changed since the last time I was here.
Yes, I know, and I can't wait to dive into that. But as I always start, I usually bring up a little icebreaker question, just so everyone can kind of get to know you before we start the interview. So,
Okay.
if you had to choose one season of the year to just enjoy for all 12 months, which one would it be and why?
Summer.
Summer.
Because I grew up in Jamaica. Like, I'm so used to that tropical warm climate. So I feel like I blossom better in the summer.
Yes. Yes, I love summer too. And it's like, different fashion and all of that. And it's just more comfortable. But for some reason, I always default to fall just because it's like you can switch between the boots, the jackets. Some days it's hot and cold. But then again, I feel like we didn't get much of a fall this year in this area.
Definitely. I was just saying to someone, it just starts to feel like fall. Well, it's starting to feel like winter now because we didn't
Yeah,
have any fall. Like, it was just summer all around.
exactly. Yeah. So, at least with summer, you know that it's set for those months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, last time you came on the show, you talked to us about your journey throughout undergrad, graduate school, your background in epidemiology, and you had a big move to a new location. So, can you just fill us in on what you've been up to lately and how things have been going with JolieThinks?
So the last time I spoke, I think I was working with the CDC. Um, I just moved back from working with Texas. And since then, actually I'm now working in corporate. Um, and I work in consulting, and it's totally different landscape from what I was accustomed to. And so, of course, there was a major learning curve. And I felt like I needed to give that my, full attention in order to grow in my new space. And so I kind of just put JolieThinks on hold for a while until I felt like I was at a place in my 9 to 5 where I could, balance having both working my 9 to 5 and also doing JolieThinks. However, I did continuously work on work helping people with their resumes behind the scenes, even though I wasn't actively promoting my business or focusing on it. And then, yeah, eventually I started in August of this, well, just 2 months ago. Yeah, I
Oh,
launched.
awesome. Yes, I know a lot of people when they're starting out their business and they have a regular, like full-time job, it can be difficult to balance. So, what were some things that helped you find that balance between working your corporate job and then developing your own business?
Um, I think for a major part, when I first started working in my professional space, working as an epi, I was still in school. I was doing cybersecurity in school. And so after work, I was always accustomed to having so much more work to do. Like, it would have been like another job.
Right.
Um, so after um, working, I think initially when I moved to corporate, after work, I was so just overwhelmed by the day that I was happy that I didn't have anything else to do because I finished that program, my cybersecurity program, in December of 2020. So I think after working I was like in a space where I needed that time to myself. I've been going to school and working for so long. I needed just some time to not have anything to do, to just be free. And I felt like I wasn't, because after work I would be studying for my 9 to 5, my new corporate job.
Right.
And working in that space was like, it was really challenging. And of course, imposter syndrome and all that played in. But eventually, when I felt like I was in a good enough space where I was receiving great feedback from work, my colleagues and team members, I just focused my attention on JolieThinks. Also, I felt really motivated to do JolieThinks because it was all one of the things that I had written down last year at my birthday, as something that I would launch and start and be actively working on building. And it was August. So I think it was July, and I was looking. I was like, 7 months have gone by so quickly. What have I done this year? I haven't done anything. I haven't accomplished anything. And that driving factor motivated me to just do it. Another thing was that behind the scenes, I had contracted someone else to, do my website and all that stuff in the interim. But for some reason that never worked out. I just haven't heard from the service provider that I had reached out to. And I was a little bit defeated about that because I felt like, oh my gosh, I spent all this money and nothing is being done. But that just also motivated me to focus solely on doing JolieThinks my way, by myself, in my time. And that's, yeah, now we're here.
Yeah, I really relate to what you said about how quickly 7 months can go because, man, it really feels like we were just in Christmas time of 2020, like 2020 so far away, and now we're at the end of 2021, and it's like that common saying, time waits for no man. So it's, sometimes there's some life events that I think happen that make us get motivated once again and overcome all obstacles, which you definitely have done.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes it's just so easy to be wrapped up and in our day and not focusing on our goals that we see so much time has passed and our goals are like just drifting away from us. And for me, I birthdays are particularly a hard time for me because that's what the time that I use to think back on my life and where I'm at and to see what I've been doing or what I haven't been doing. So I felt like I wanted to have a really good birthday this year.
Right.
And I felt like I wouldn't have if I didn't start JolieThinks because I talked about it so much. It was heavily on my mind. I just felt like I've come to a point in my career where I had space to develop my personal brand outside of what I do 9 to 5. So yeah.
Yeah. And I like what you said about, this passion that you had was just really tugging at you, like this has to get done. So often we put that on the back burner, but it really takes that motivation to say, I'm going to move some things around. I know I'm doing all this work and I have all these things to do after I come back home, but you really have set things into motion and inspire people. I really, when I thought about this interview, I just thought of the word manifestation because literally you showed me the logo and everything last year and now you officially launched.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And I think one of the most interesting part about it is, and I would say to anyone that's looking to start a business or have plans to start a business, is just to start. Because when I paid to have my logo done and I paid to get my website done and I didn't have it done in January and I wasn't able to make contact, I felt so defeated. I was like, maybe it's a sign that I shouldn't start and I shouldn't do this. And then just having like already fumble on my journey, I had to get back up. And I think it's about something that's really funny. It's like you know how you fall down but you get back up. So it's like 7 times fall but yet I rise.
Right.
And then when you stand back up, you're so grounded, like no one can even tilt you over. I was able to create my website by myself. Like I didn't even know I had that skill or I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And it was through that failure, that initial failure, that, you know, prompted me to do that by myself. So, you know, no matter where you are on your journey in life, just start. Just take that step. You'll be surprised. Like you will start, and then sooner or later you'll realize that you have completed. You're finished. Like you're so further along than not having started. So yeah.
That's so true. You know, I came across a quote a few months ago where somebody said oftentimes we discourage ourselves from taking that first step because we're just thinking of all the other steps that we have to take. But you can't get started until you take that first step.
You can't.
So even no matter how small you think that step will be, it's at least a step forward. And all it takes is a few more to get to your final destination.
Definitely. Just start. It doesn't matter like who's supporting you, who's not. Just the right people will support, you know. So
that is true. And you know, I think this pandemic has also made all of us more self-sufficient. Like you said, you started your own website by yourself. And you know, we start turning to those self-help websites, books, what have you, and we just get it done. And we're like, hey, that person, like there's a saying in Nigerian culture about like, does that person have two heads? All of us have one head and we can all figure it out at some point. So just get it done when you have that determination.
Yeah, definitely. Just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could perfect it along the way. Because there are many times now that I'll make a post. Like today I made a post on my page and I saw there was an error. I was like, oh my gosh. And I just took it down. So it's like, you know, just have fun along the way and start. Like we're human beings. We're not perfect, but just work towards making yourself better or your business better every day. Like striving to be better is just that's just what's important, like moving forward.
That's true. And that's something that sometimes I think we forget, which is it's not going to be perfect right off the bat. And it's always going to be a work in progress. And if you reach a point where you feel as though you can't improve, then you're only going to stay at that level. So I think we should always try to, you know, improve what we're doing because it just opens new ideas and new opportunities too.
Definitely. Yeah.
And you know, you're basically the definition of an entrepreneur because you started this new business. And how would you describe the impact that your business has had on other entrepreneurs and budding professionals during this pandemic?
I'm not sure. Like, I think I would say, if anything, my business is just proof that you could get it done. You could do whatever you want to do. Like you could balance it, whether it's having a 9 to 5 or having children and, you know, starting a business. I think this pandemic, like you said, has made a lot of us more self-sufficient. It has caused a lot of us to explore hidden talents. And I think it's important that everyone just revel in your God-given purpose and walk your own path. It doesn't have to look like anyone's path, and it doesn't have to, everyone's path is unique. So no one has to walk the path that you have chosen. But as long as it sets your soul on fire, then I think everyone should just do what's best for them.
I love that. I love that because you're right. Everyone's path is unique in its own way. And you shouldn't get discouraged by looking at other people's paths because only you can walk your path. And so we should find power in that for sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
And we talk about people looking for and finding themselves during these times, maybe trying to switch to another career path or exploring their natural talents like you talked about. And so who would you recommend should seek additional assistance in creating or perfecting their resume, their interview skills, what have you?
I think if you are actively seeking employment and you aren't getting a response, whether it's for an interview or just to find out more information, whatever it is, then you should definitely be seeking assistance or finding out what's going on. Because more than likely, your resume is in that what we call the rabbit hole. So now in our society, everything now is driven by softwares and application, and the application tracking system, or ATS, is what a lot of companies are using to select candidates. Like an average recruiter spends less than 8 seconds on your resume. So you want to make sure that whatever position you're applying to, that you are hitting on target words or keywords that they're looking for. Because if not, then that's probably one of the main reasons why you're not getting selected or chosen for an interview. I think if you have gotten interviews and you cannot land a job, then definitely you are the type of person that would probably benefit from a mock interview, that could help show what is it that you're lacking. Because sometimes it's just how you're presenting, and it has nothing to do with um, your capabilities or accomplishments. I mean, that's already on your resume, but sometimes it's also having the confidence to upsell yourself and um, have your resume is already telling a story, but you should be able to tell that story so well that they're impressed. Like, that is your time to, like, this is me, I'm this great, boast about yourself.
Right.
So if you are getting the interviews and you aren't receiving feedback, then definitely those are definitely the type of people that could benefit from professional services.
Yeah. I like that because, so often people might get stuck in the rabbit hole, like you said,
Hmm.
constantly applying or constantly interviewing, and they haven't really taken the time to find out what's wrong. And so, in
Hmm.
those cases, definitely getting a consultation will be helpful. And, from your experience with looking over people's resumes, what are some of the top mistakes that you've noticed? I know you mentioned lacking some of the keywords that these systems are looking into, but what are some other potential mistakes that people could be making?
Um, I think sometimes besides not having, a lot of us, and myself included, because I was in this boat, we would get a job and we would go to work, but we aren't able to accurately describe what we actually did, like how we contributed to the goal, whatever the proposal, whatever it is that you're doing. And sometimes we undersell ourselves. Like, so you want to make sure that your resume of, like, action verbs and, like, active words and, like, showing collaboration and all that stuff, you want to make sure it's up to date, um, and in reverse chronological order. So, and also, it's very important to save your resume in a PDF format. That helps with the ATS tracking system, because sometimes when it's in Word and it's uploaded, what happens is it goes out of alignment and they aren't able to read it. And that also sends your resume down the rabbit hole.
Right.
So just certain stuff like that, not able to, like, position themselves in right, because they aren't able to sell what they actually did in their previous employment or what they're actually doing now, I think is. And then also not put in your transferable skills. So even though you're applying for a position as a consultant and you used to work in, like, collections, and you used to work in, say, as a janitor or something, and it's, you think you didn't have skills there, you probably, I'm pretty sure, had some good transferable skills that could help, sorry, excuse me, with your resume.
Right.
So definitely, sorry, those are definitely some ways in which people, like, undersell themselves, and that could definitely help with their resume revamp, or just getting that job or position.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really a great point, because a lot of people are not comfortable bragging on themselves, basically. And this is the time that you need to do it, because, like you said, these people are spending 8 seconds or less looking at your resume. And I like what you said about using those verbs, like assisted with this project, streamline this, whatever, it's like
Right.
it's empowering, and it adds some professional fluff to their resume as well. But it's also substantial too, because it shows them what they're getting in this package.
Right. So, yeah.
And then with interviewing, because I know different fields require different skill sets when it comes to interviewing. They may be more laid back or more professional. So, what are some ways that you've advised your clients to approach interviews? And what are some features of the mock interviews that get them prepared for that big day?
I tell everyone to make sure that they have questions going in, and think of the interview process as an interview for yourself as well. As much as these companies are scouting to make sure that they have the right employee, you are also scouting to make sure that you are going to the right company. Because one of my mantras and moving forward was, when I was praying for the right job, I also wanted it to be in an environment that was conducive to my mental health. So I wanted to work for a company that recognizes mental health and also would work with their employees to just make sure that, we are well taken care of, not just from a financial aspect, but also mentally. Um, and going into an interview process, it's very important to do your own research. So you want to start like going through their website, looking at their mission, value statement, their news, press release. That's very important, and that will give you kind of idea of the type of culture that you're going into. So you want to go with at least 3 questions already prepared. My thing is, whenever you get there, you just want to smile while you're talking. That just shows that you're interested, and make sure that you're actively listening. It does not hurt to take out a pen and paper and write down some of the stuff that they're saying. That shows that you are interested, you are ready, you want to learn. That reflects well on a candidate applying for a job. So those are some of the tips I would tell. And also, this is very, very important. A lot of people don't do this. But after an interview, always follow up. Send a thank you email. Thank you for your time. And you also want to point out one thing that you spoke about during the interview that really got your attention. They love that. See, so even if they're seeing 1,000 candidates, you stand out because you remembered something. And one other advice I'll always tell people: recruiters love to talk about themselves. So if you could ask a question that points to something about them, okay, what has been your experience in this company for this year? What advice would you give to your younger self? Stuff like that. They relished on that opportunity. So definitely, those are some. Always ask questions, always. And make sure that you're scouting the company. So you want to seem like, hey, I did my research on this. What is your culture like? How do you respond in a situation like this? Make it specific, make it personal, whatever. But go in there already feeling confident. Do not think of it as they're interviewing to see if I am capable. Think of it as, we're going to have this conversation and we're going to see if we are compatible to work together. So that helps to quell all your nerves, because you're already coming in there like, hey, I already know I'm a boss, I'm capable, I'm here, but can you handle me? So you want to show up like, yeah, I'm here and I am willing. But is this the type of environment that I want to be in? Is this the type of environment that's conducive to my mental health? Can I actually grow in an environment like this? So you want to show up like that, think about it that way. So that takes off all the anxiety going into an interview.
Right. Those are all excellent points, because like you mentioned, it's more of a partnership. You're not just serving this employer. You hope to work and collaborate together, ensuring your longevity there, and also being able to climb up the ranks when you do your research on all the services that they provide and who's employing you, and you, like you said, asking questions that reflect that. It makes you stand out, and it also, like you mentioned, demonstrates your confidence, decreases your anxiety that you may have going in. So I think that's very important to point out, and for all potential interviewees to keep in mind.
Definitely. Said it
And then
perfectly.
I'm echoing all the excellent points that you brought up. And, another point that may seem more superficial when people think about interviews is how they present themselves in terms of their attire and how they actually walk into the space that they're going to be interviewing. So customs may vary based on what type of job that they're interviewing for, even male or female. So have you had those type of conversations when it comes to your clients and mock interviews, advising them what to wear and things of that nature?
Yeah, you know what's so funny? I had a mock interview the other day and my client showed up dressed like it was actually a real interview, and I was like really, really impressed. So you're going to an interview, you always want to show out looking your best. I remember when I was working in an environment that was really lapsed, um, at work, I would always show up dressed up like, hey, I am here. And I think sometimes when you dress up, you just feel better about yourself. Like it's as somebody that works from home, I sometimes when I'm not feeling like I want to do work, I actually dress up like I'm going into work, and it just puts me in that frame of mind. Excuse me. I promise it's not corona. um So, yeah, I think you want to show up as your best self. You want to show up representing, like, I am here to work. Dark colors are always recommended. But, it depends on the job. If you're going for a fashion job, I'm sure play around with whatever, feels comfortable. But I'm just saying, you want to just dress as professional as possible. Get a haircut if you need to. Just be well put together. And what well put together means is have different meanings for everyone. But I would just say dress professional. Um, wear your slacks. Ladies, make sure you have a nice, if you have, if you want to wear slack pants or a skirt, make sure the length is appropriate. You just want them to have the best impression, because remember now, like going into an interview, that is the impression that will last. That can also make or break you. And I feel like, so I think it's very important that your look represents what is on your resume, and you just want to look like, I am a career minded professional and I'm ready to work.
That's true. I totally applaud that advice, because I truly believe that your physical appearance is one of the major things that you have control over when it comes to an interview. You can't control how the interviewer is going to respond to you, but at least if you show up meaning business and demonstrating that you take yourself seriously, I definitely believe that can put you forward when it comes to making a good first impression.
Definitely.
And you don't want to be uncomfortable squirming around in your seat, wondering, oh, can they see anything,
Right. Because then that also just detracts from the interview. You're going to be so focused on that you're not presenting well. And you just want to make sure that, you're giving them your best self.
Right. And now here's a little curveball. So let's say, your interviewee has done everything. They crossed their T's, dotted their I's. They look well dressed. They have their questions. They're super polite. and then they just have an interviewer that just is very curt, very, straight to the point, doesn't seem to be in a great mood. How would you advise that interviewee to handle that situation and really do their best to put their best foot forward?
Well, I hope none of my clients or anyone encounters that. But I would just say you just remain in your element. Sometimes it's just staying professional, and while that might not land you the job if they're already in that mindset, still follow up with a thank you email. Still remember something positive that you could bring the attention to, and leave there knowing that you have done everything possible. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not, that just wasn't your time. I think sometimes with seeking employment, it's also a very humbling experience, because we're not going to always get the job that we want. We're not always going to get the first job. We're going to get a couple of no's. I think it's how you respond when you get a nose that sets you apart. And sometimes a lot of no's can be, it can be disheartening. It can cause you to lose confidence. However, it's imperative that you would just, every time that I felt like I was at the end of my road, like I remember last year, August. So a lot of people don't know this. Last year, August, this is October. Last year, August, at the beginning of August, I was unemployed. And in that period, from last year, August, until this year, November 2nd, I've worked for 3 of the top companies in the United States, around the world, like most respected companies,
That's
you know?
amazing.
And before that, I got a lot of no's. I got so many no's. Like, I felt like I just wanted to give up. It's like you went to school, you got your degree, you did all you're supposed to do, and it just wasn't my time. But when my time came, it was like it was the best thing to ever happen to me. Like, my first professional job was like literally to this day, I still am in contact with everyone there. It's literally one of the best jobs I've had. It was really like all my jobs were really good. Like, so I waited all that long and I didn't wait in vain. It worked out in my favor. Like, where am I in my career right now? Sometimes I have to pinch myself. Like, every single major organization that I wanted to work on that was on my wish list, I've worked with them. Like, done, gone, sealed, delivered. Okay, I've conquered and I'm moving on. And I didn't just go there and just work and fit in. I made an impact. So sometimes during this period where you're getting a lot of no's, upskill. That's what I did. Whenever I got depressed, I would just learn a new skill, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this now. What are they gonna tell me when I come back with this skill?
Exactly. Yeah.
Upskill, find supportive people that will help you, because it's hard, like hearing no all the time. But guess what? You're gonna hear yes at some point, and it's gonna be the best yes you've ever heard. So keep going, but just know it's a very humbling experience. Everyone has a story. Everyone has been told no. Everyone had to start somewhere. When I started, I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. Like, I felt all those feelings. But then eventually it's just a learning curve. Like, it passed. It's fleeting. It won't always be there. And eventually you'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was worried about this. You'll be an expert before you know it. So just keep going. That's my advice. If you have a bad experience with an interviewer, just remain in your element, remain positive, remain grounded. Because even when you do get a job, you are going to encounter people like that. You know what I mean? So it's very important that you start practicing from now. That's just that, it's just a part of life, and everyone has experienced it. It can be sometimes very, hard and stressful. But eventually, it will just be a memory that you can look back at and just laugh or be like, hey, I remember when I went through this. Like, can you believe that? But just know, like, nothing happens by chance. All those no's pointed me where I'm at right now. I'm in one of the best, I work for one of the best companies. Like, I sometimes pinch myself. Like, I'm in a group, I pray to be in a group where we're in an environment where I was actively learning every day, where I didn't feel like I was the smartest. Like, I had to learn from all these people. Like, everyone in my team, my colleagues, they're so impressive. Their backgrounds are just so inspiring. So sometimes those no's will lead you exactly where you're supposed to be, and you look back and you're like, I remember when I prayed for this. Because sometimes we don't even remember our prayers.
That's true. Yeah.
And it just occurred to me because last year I took up writing down some of my prayers. I looked back over, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, I prayed to be where I'm at right now. And can you believe at one point I wanted to quit? Whoa. I wanted to quit because I was like, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I'm not smart enough. But now I'm just like, I'm doing so great. I'm really excelling. I feel, and it's good to be doing well in your company and then having your company respond to you doing well. And I'm in a company that does that. Like, that lets me know, hey, you're doing well here. Here's a reward. Here's an applause, stuff like that. So also, those are stuff that you want to consider when you're seeking employment. You want to find a company that will give you feedback and positive reinforcement. So just keep going. Like, looking for a job is a job itself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love everything that you just said because I saw a quote recently that said you are living the prayers that you put forth, months ago, years ago. And like you said, sometimes you forget those prayers and then you have to pinch yourself and realize that you are actually living that. But like you said, it takes some no's to get there. And I really encourage anyone out there who is getting no's to really, like Jolian was doing, write down and manifest everything that you're looking for in your dream job. And I guarantee you will find yourself in a place where all of those elements are. And don't be afraid to dream about finding that perfect job. Don't aspire for a job that you're just going to be getting through every day and you come home and you're like, oh my God, I hate this. I just want to quit. You want to find a job that really embodies everything that you're looking for, that you feel appreciated there. You are able to give all your talents and have them recognized. And you're also learning and growing there too. So, I mean, that is just, I'm so happy for you that you found that place and you're in the top companies in your field and you have your own business that you're running on the side. I mean, that is just amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm just really thankful and grateful for God because it's all him. Sometimes I was just saying to one of my friends the other day, I was like, sometimes I get really worked up when something goes wrong and I get so stressed. And then I forget how blessed I am because literally, like, he's always on time. Always on time. Yeah. And my story might sound like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. But your story is amazing too and will be amazing too because, we're also unique and all our blessings are so different. But you have to just remember to, even when you can't see your way, even when you don't even know, like, you're like, oh my gosh, it's the worst day ever. What is there to be thankful for? Be thankful, be grateful, be present. Like, remember the now, because we sometimes as human beings, we tend to look forward to the then. We think, when I get this job, I'm going to be happy then.
Right.
I'm telling you this because that was me. If you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy then. Right. You have to learn to be happy in every single situation. And I was telling somebody else the other day, stop asking for happiness too. Happiness, sadness, that's all fleeting. Ask for joy, because when you have joy, you'll be happy when it's rough, when it's tough, and when it's good, you know? So find that from the inside by thinking of all the things that are going well for you, you know? And I promise you, you have at least 5 things going well for you. Okay? So if you get to that point where you're just like, hey, today's just a rough day. Also, I'm not saying to have this toxic positivity because I am not a fan of that.
Right.
But don't wallow in your feelings to the point where it leads you down to this depression and you're in this circle. You know, have your feelings, sit with them, and then get out of it. You know, go for a walk, do something that will relieve your stress. But just know everyone's path is different, everyone's story is different. We're all unique, but we all have a story, and that's what makes us similar. That's what we have in common. So keep pushing. Work actively on presenting yourself in the best possible light. And when you're looking for a job and you can't get it, just keep upskilling. Like there's so many places that you could get like free, like John Hopkins University sometimes offer like free certification courses, Udemy, you know, Course Hero, all those. You could do like the trial period and you could actually finish the course before it's the trial is over. Do stuff like that. If it's something that you actively want, write down your dreams. Write down the list of companies. I want to work for this. I want to do this. You know, you never know. Like, I think one time when I was writing my list down, I never really imagined that it would actually, you know, it would actually come to fruition, and it did. And it did faster. Within 1 year,
Yeah.
like, think about it. I've only been in my professional space for 1 year, right? And within 1 year, I've hit all 3 major companies I wanted to work for. Like, I said I wanted to move from working as a COVID epi and transition to more research, science, I'm doing that. Like, I wrote that down in January, and in May I'm doing that now. Like, keep writing stuff down. You never know. Like, when you write stuff down, you never know. Like, it amazes me when I look back and I'll like, oh my gosh, I already did this. I forgot. See, and that's why it's important to live in the now. Because then you forget all the dreams that you had yesterday just by thinking and comparing yourself. So that is my... Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yo, you need to do a TED Talk. I wouldn't be surprised if we see you next year on TED Talks because you got the gems. You're preaching. And like you said, literally writing things down is so important because I really feel like there's a shift in the universe when you write things down. Everything that you do is ordered towards fulfilling those goals that you write down. Mm-hmm. And you physically write that down and you embody that goal, and things start aligning in your life towards that. So, and then you're able to check things off. When you're able to check things off that list, it just reinforces that dream.
Yeah, that's the best feeling when you can, like, you look at your to-do list and you're like, I already did that. Okay, yeah. So.
And then for you, you know, you've written things down. That's one of the ways that you've manifested everything that you're doing right now. But for people who may just be starting off with this, you know, positive affirmation path, prayer, just all in all, like you said, avoiding toxic positivity, imposter syndrome, how would you recommend people find that balance between being positive but not so positive that they're negating the real feelings that they're having in that moment of disappointment?
Journaling is really, really helpful. Sometimes it's good to have someone to vent to, but sometimes I feel like it feels a little bit unfair to unload every single thing on your friends. And also, you know, of course, you could always go to a therapist, but sometimes that's not within reach. Like, you're in a situation right now, you need to figure out a way to calm down. So writing down your thoughts, and feel like, I find after I've written something down that really hurts me or something, and a good therapeutic cry, I feel much better. I feel lighter. Or I'll go for a walk, or just turning off my phone and just sitting by myself watching like my favorite. So my favorite series. If you haven't watched The Office, you're missing out on life. I've watched it so much, I know everything. Anyway, so yeah, just having those secret shifters that you could go to when you're in that moment is really helpful to help you get out. But in that moment, of course, feel your feelings, sit with them, cry if you have to, like be upset, go scream in your car, whatever you need to do, feel it. However, don't wallow in it to the point where you're just like, I really, you have those little passing thoughts. I feel like I'm not good enough.
Mm.
Don't let that become what you focus on. So
Right.
something that I've told my friends is, what has helped me lately is when I have a thought and it's a negative thought, and it comes to mind, I'll be like, I'll get the feeling, and I'm like, wait, why do I feel like this? What about this angers me or saddens me or whatever?
Yeah.
And I'll sit there and think, why this upset me? Why this hurt me? And when I answer, I'm like, oh, well, and that also helps with addressing your childhood trauma. Because
Yeah.
most times, it stems from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
A past failure, a couple failures in the past, and now you're like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm just a failure.
Mm.
So looking at it and shape shifting, okay, well, I failed at this, but that does not mean that I'm a failure. Like, everyone fails. That's a part of, like, what did I learn from this failure?
Right.
Like, ask yourself questions. And when you start doing that, like, it's a hard thing to practice. Like, sometimes I'll forget and then I'll remember, oh, let me do it. And it really helps. Really, really, really helpful. So I think it's important that you find time to sit with your feelings, but also figure out why is it that you're feeling that way. And if you could trace it to that, then you're definitely on the way to feeling better and rewiring your brain to think more positive thoughts. Because whenever you have those negative thoughts, just like how you practice your affirmation, just try to think of a positive to cancel out that negative and repeat it to yourself. But always, always, it's important to know what you're feeling. I'm not telling anyone to sit here and be like, hey, I'm just this positive beam of sunshine. No. We are all human. We all feel sad. We all go through stuff. But just don't sit there and wallow in what you're going through.
That's definitely facts. And the term root cause analysis really came to mind when you mentioned that, because you got to get to the root of why you do what you do, why you feel the way that you do. Because until you do that root cause analysis, you're just going to be dealing with the symptoms. You're just going to be repeating those phrases, like you said, those negative thoughts. And until you really sit with yourself and ask yourself, okay, what makes me angry about this? And go back in time and see if there's something from your childhood or recent experience that you kind of buried that made you feel that way. Which, of course, sometimes, like you said, it's more helpful with a therapist, but sometimes you have to kind of develop coping skills to do it by yourself. It's helpful to do that because it also builds that independence in understanding your emotions. And we have to separate that, unfortunately, from the professional world. But that's what the beauty of being able to go home and do that is. So you don't have to have that seep out at work.
Definitely.
Or during an interview.
Yes. Let's hope that does not happen during an interview.
Yeah, for sure. And so, you had your background with scientific consulting and with being a business professional. So how has all of this experience shaped your view on life in general now?
I think right now, like, I think this pandemic shifted life for me in so many ways. I don't know. Like, I'm definitely not the same person I was a year ago, and I think this pandemic has brought out everyone, like, for better or worse, qualities that, were hidden inside. And for me now, being in the health field in the middle of a major pandemic and having worked with COVID and then doing research and stuff, now seeing how society has evolved in this past year and just looking at everything from like a scientific lens, I think it was important for me to develop something outside of science. Because working in that space is very demanding. Like,
Yes.
working in science, you don't know what your day is. It's not like a routine job. So I love talking about professional career, or just anything around that, just people's being your best self. Like, I love that because I've seen what putting in that work can do for anyone, just by my own experience. So I think this has really opened up my eyes to like just the possibilities that lies outside of tradition. And this pandemic actually helped with that, because right now we're just in a state of shifting. Like, the world is shifting dramatically in all aspects. And it's some aspect is more transparent and open than others. So I feel like with this, I'm also pivoting. I am also making a transition, and just pulling out the talents or the passion that I have within myself. So that's really opened up my eyes to a lot. I have definitely grown and changed over the year, and I'm just very excited to see what JolieThinks will do in the future. I'm very, very excited, and I'm happy to take everyone on a journey.
That's amazing. And you talked about being excited to see what is in store for JolieThinks. So what are some goals that you have for JolieThinks in the upcoming year?
So I'm actually working on a segment called Chatting with JolieThinks, and
Nice.
it will involve. So I am an overthinker. I think about some stuff that probably I should not be thinking about. Like, if something doesn't make sense to me, I'm gonna be like, okay, but that doesn't make any sense, and I'm gonna ask 1,001 questions after.
That's the scientist in you.
Yes, if it don't make sense, just don't. So, I want to talk about stuff that have, of course, some impacts on the professional realm, but eventually, one of the reasons why JolieThinks is JolieThinks Consulting and Professional Services, because I eventually do want to use my cybersecurity and degree and my health science degree, and establish JolieThinks in that aspect or in that discipline. But like you have said, when I was like, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, I do love talking about stuff that I'm passionate about. And one of that is mental health and narcissism and trauma, especially in the Black community. I want to talk about stuff like that. So that's a segment, and I'm hoping, and of course, I would love to have you on it.
I'd be honored.
So definitely, I do think we will expand and definitely go into the sci-tech realm at some point. However, like with everything, I have to feel like I am ready, or I'm at that space where I am balancing the professional services aspect of it enough to eventually expand in that realm. And yeah, we'll see. But definitely Chatting with JolieThinks is coming soon, and we're going to have some excited topics.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. I definitely would be honored to be on there. And for sure, we need to have these conversations about mental health because, like you said, everyone had some qualities, good or bad, that came out. I think we have to talk about them. So,
Yes.
Yes. And so my final question for you is, what advice do you have for those who would like to start their own business? They may feel like they're stuck within the confines of a 9-to-5, and they just don't know where to start. what would you advise them to do?
Start now, wherever you are. Like, you know what's so crazy about me starting my business? And this is, I'm not not telling anyone to do this, okay? Did not create a business plan, okay, guys? And it's even crazier because in my current role, like, I have acquired all the skills to write a really developed business plan. But when I looked at July and I was like, it's July, my birthday is in October, what have I done? I have accomplished nothing. Forget the fact that I just started working corporate. In my mind, I've accomplished nothing. That was just a driving factor for me. I'm like, I have to get my business up and running. So I think it took me like 2 weeks to complete my website. And I was just like, I am on it. Like, and when I started, I was like, this is not even that hard. Apart from the fact that I'm colorblind and could not pick my colors, thank God for good friends, I enjoyed what I was doing. I really did. I really do enjoy that. I mean, it's time consuming. It's a lot of work. Oh, that's another thing. They don't tell you how much work it is to own a business.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I feel like the wheels are always turning. There's always something to be done, right? But if you're in your passion, and that's the next thing, if you're going to start a business, make sure it's something that you're passionate about, like that you love. Because then you have to have that intrinsic motivating factor. Like, this is me. This is what I stand for. Like, sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I can't be bothered with this. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, my name is on there already. JolieThinks. So let me get up. I can't have people out here looking at my brand or looking at me side eye. It's like, what is that? So let me get up and put something together. So you have to make sure that it's something that you're really passionate about, something that will, even when you have, because you're going to have moments when you just can't be bothered. You don't want to do anything. One thing that kept me away from starting my business too was social media.
Mm-hmm.
I know you noticed, like, I was not posting. I was not on social media for probably like 8 months prior to me starting JolieThinks. I was not, because social media sometimes gives me so much anxiety, right? And I didn't want to come back and be in this. I was like, why can't I just start a business without it or whatever? But then I just started using it more intentional. So I'm not really on it scrolling, and I'm posting and I'm out. And also, I have to balance my time. So I don't really have time to be scrolling aimlessly like I used to do before. So that has really helped. But I think making sure that it's something that you're passionate about, making sure that, learn. You have to be open to learning as you go. Understanding that sometimes you have to fail to succeed. Understand that you have to start from somewhere. Understand that it's apples to oranges, so you can't compare somebody else's performance or what they're doing with what you're doing. Remember that you're in your own lane, right? So in your own lane, there's this Jamaican song, but anyway, in your own lane, there's no traffic, right? It's just you. So you can do whatever you want. You could do a donut, whatever you want to do, whatever. Just keep going and focus on yourself. Sometimes I get caught up when sometimes they say look at other people in their field and see what they're doing, and then I'll go look, and then I'll feel like maybe I'm not doing this well enough. But it's my path, right? And it's my business and it's my journey. So I can make my own mistakes, and it doesn't have to be how she does it, because I'm unique and we're different. So it's also having to learn how to talk to yourself and pace yourself. Remember to pace yourself. Remember that you are in it to win it, and you'll win it in your own timing. Okay? So you can't look at somebody else's shoes and think that your feet can fit in their shoes, right? It won't work like that. So I think it's just important to just be passionate about what you're doing, and also have good customer service. Be passionate, be patient, and also be smart. have a vision and work actively every day. Take a step towards that vision, and eventually you'll get there. Just don't dwell on the negative and do not compare. Comparison is a theft of joy. Always remember that.
Yeah. Look at all these gems. Honestly, you need to write a book. You need to do TED Talks, like all of the above. I can't wait for your segment that's coming up next year. And I know for a fact we're going to have so much more to talk about with where JolieThinks is. Like you said, customer certification, all of that, definitely important. And even as you talked about that business plan, having a plan for your day too helps, because when you're like, all right, I'm not going to be just scrolling on Instagram aimlessly. I'm going to just use this as a tool to spread my business. It just really turns social media into a positive for you. And, you know, because that's literally what everyone is on right now. You know, they're not really, I mean, for the most part, not going all over the place. They're on their phones, they're on their computers. And so if you can reach out to them about your business through that, then more power to you. So, you know, I read an article about giving yourself an allotted time per day that you can check your emails and do what you want on social media. Not first thing in the morning, but, you know, get everything that you want done first, and then you can play around with all the socials that you need to. But it's discipline. Discipline is definitely needed. So I agree with all the above.
Definitely. We have to be disciplined. And I think you could lose motivation, but if you're disciplined, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Because it's not every day you're going to be motivated to do anything. But if you're disciplined, if you know you have to get it done, you'll get it done. So discipline is very important. Like, it has really, like, I think starting my business has really pushed me to be more disciplined with my time, because I still have my 9 to 5, and you know, that takes a lot of work because it's not always 40 hours a week. So I feel like when I do have time, I find myself saying a lot lately, I don't have time. And I think people are like, you don't have kids, like, what are you doing? But I really don't have time. Like, I really don't. And it's crazy because owning a business is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, when that's the funny thing, is because a lot of times when people say they don't have time to start their business, they don't really evaluate what they're doing during the day. So they might be spending like literally 5 hours on Instagram. And within that time, you could write your business plan. You could do like so much towards your goals. So when we talk about having time, literally, it's up to how you delegate it. So for you, even though, yeah, you don't have kids, but you are working actively to build your business, that's time consuming, you know? So people choose where they put their time, and busy is a relative term, honestly, but I think that you should use it to your power to keep you away from the distractions.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think we're also getting older because I don't have the energy. I'm tired. It's so funny working from home. You're like, okay, I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna be up. No, 5 o'clock. Okay, bye. I'm going to sleep now. Like, literally, I am really exhausted. I've been just saying, so I think also with everything that's going on, it's just a really heavy time. Right. That energy, it's so much going on. You absorb it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I cherish my sleep, honestly. And when I don't get it, that's when you start getting those random aches and pains and stuff. I don't have time for that. So
I'm telling you, and even prior to coming to this interview, I was like, 7 o'clock, that's so late. Legit, that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't know what happened to us, like, but I really need to get it together.
Yeah. No, I remember in college it was a different story. 7 o'clock, you're just starting your day.
It's time to get alive. The day's just started, but now it's
Exactly. Well, Jolie, it's been such a pleasure catching up, finding out what's going on with JolieThinks, getting those gems. I know everyone was taking notes as you recommended earlier on to use wisely. And I can't wait to see where JolieThinks goes in the next year. I know we're going to be having another conversation with how surprised and in awe you are that you need to pinch yourself where you've landed. So thanks so much for taking the time to chat with all of us this evening.
Thank you so much. It was always a pleasure. Thanks for creating this platform for entrepreneurs like myself and others. I really do appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to catch up and just to talk about stuff. And I am excited to have you on Chatting with JolieThinks.
I'm looking forward to that. And everyone, make sure you follow JolieThinks. Her information is pinned in the comment there, Jolie.thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And stay in touch with her if you need career and professional developmental services. Definitely reach out to her. She's your girl. If you didn't watch the interview from the beginning, please do, and definitely reach out to her if you have any further questions.
Yes, guys, I'm here. JolieThinks or Jolie.thinks. No, JolieThinks.co. Sorry. That's the website. Just send an email or JolianThinks@gmail.com if you need to connect.
Awesome. Thanks to everyone who tuned in as well. And we'll definitely be back with another episode of Testimony Tuesdays soon. If you want to be interviewed, just send me a DM. And I look forward to the next time that we catch up as well.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being a boss and spreading Black girl magic. I love it. And we'll be in touch. Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Bye. Bye,
All right, bye. Good night, everyone.